Production support for Hot and Cold is brought to you by American Solar Technics, manufacturers of components for wood burning and solar heating systems. Hey, I'm Tom Gozzi. This week on Hot and Cold, we're at our project house where the projects are progressing. Stay with us and you'll see why. Here we are in the project house in the kitchen where we started last week. We were insulating the walls. The walls are now insulated. At least the kitchen cabinet walls are insulated. We've got moisture resistant sheetrock over it. I've reset the sink. The temporary sink, this is the joke in the Gozzi household, is to have a temporary sink on 2 sticks of wood. You gotta have it. You're not a real home improvement person until you do your kitchen temporarily on a couple of sticks of wood. Your kitchen sink anyway. And we've got it here and it's actually level and it's actually very strong. We put a new kitchen faucet in. Don't get real close because everything's dirty. They didn't know I was coming today to tape. At any rate, everything is hooked up again. I've got wiring in the wall where everything is going to go. The appliances are pretty much where they're going to be. The new location was a refrigerator here, stove here. We're going to have a microwave up here. I got my little beepy thing which tells me I've got power to the outlet. I had to show you that because I love noisemakers. It's good fun. This is an adult noisemaker. You do that and that's so cool. Anyway, the power's hooked up here. We got wiring in the wall. We've got another, in between the studs, as I mentioned, we've got 1.5 inches of foam. So this is nice and tight. I used a lot of foam to fill in around all the gaps around the window so there is no cold air coming in. As a matter of fact, in working in this room, I actually was getting really overheated because it was so much warmer in here. And I've come around the corner because I knew I needed to put the refrigerator here. I at least would get to this point where if I didn't go any further, I'd be okay for the time being. But this week, I think I'm going to do this wall too because there is no insulation in at least parts of this wall. So I've come over to this point, and on this wall, we're doing a little different than this one. This wall's relatively flat, so I've got 2 inches of foam. There's a piece sticking out here, and I've got sheetrock right over it, and I've got, I get some to show you. This is here. I've got a 5-inch sheetrock screw. That's a 6-inch sheetrock screw. Notice the difference, 1 inch. Use 5-inch sheetrock screws to mount that to the wall, and then foamed where there were gaps and stuff because the floor kind of goes downhill a little bit, so we foamed at the bottom. So I'm going to do this wall. I'll pull the trim off here, which will probably scare the heck out of me, and that there'll be big holes around the window, but we got to do it. And so I'm just, someday this week, I'll get 2 pieces of 2-inch foam, 2 pieces of sheetrock, and we will finish up the wall. In the process of doing that, if the cameraman can kind of, I'm just going to sneak over into the corner here where you can't see much. Can you see that okay? Yeah. I took out the electrical outlet, which was really in there kind of tight. It was a 2-prong outlet with 3 wires. There was no ground hooked up because there's no ground lug. I stuck a piece of foam in the hole here because I got a little nervous that a critter would come out through because it is just wide open in the wall. So that's going to happen. So we're going to do, this is an outside wall. We'll do this outside wall. My inclination is to just keep going right down that wall and do them all. Do the whole thing. But I have to try to pace myself because it's not mission critical. It's fuel critical. But I think if we do this wall, I'll be happy for the time being, get myself through the holidays. We got enough to do to get ready in this room for doing the cabinets. I just got word the cabinets aren't coming till the middle of January. We're taping this in the middle of December, so we got plenty of time to finish prepping. The big prep thing we have to do is, I don't really have to tape anything here because I'm going to tile this. So I can put thin set on this, and you know, there's no cold air. A lot of times taping joints like this, putting tape on it and putting mud over it is important for air infiltration. We don't have that here because there's so much foam in this wall, ain't no air coming through. So I don't need to do it for that reason. I don't need to do it because we're going to cover a lot of this wall with cabinets. I do need to do it way over here where the clock is, because this will be exposed. The cabinets, I forget where the mark is, it's about here. The cabinets will be coming over to here, so from here over we have to treat it like a real wall. We'll tape the joints because this will be painted. But overhead we're going to build a soffit. I think we might do a wood ceiling. I think this would be a really nice looking edge and center bead ceiling. I'm still chewing on that because I've got to come down 1.5 inches, and we don't have a tremendous amount of headroom in this room, but I don't like the idea of scraping all this stucco-y ceiling off. God, it's awful. So I can make a really good excuse for myself just getting some 10-foot wide edge and center bead and just going bing, bing, bing right straight down the whole room, covering the ceiling. We're going to build a soffit out over the cabinet so we don't have to worry about any of this up here. This outlet here is for a microwave that'll go over the stove. This will be in the upper cabinet. All these, there's no cold air. When you do the foam walls right, there's absolutely no sense of any air infiltration coming in around the outlets. So that's a nice thing. I was a little sloppy in cutting the holes for the outlets because I don't care, because I'm going to have tile and the tile will be trimmed properly. And I thought, and that was a mistake, that these boxes were actually set a little proud of the wall, but they're not. They're actually a little recessed. So we'll get some box extensions after we decide what depth tile we're going to have, because we don't want to have a gap there. This should be all contained within a box. So that's going to happen. We've got an ice maker hook up for the refrigerator. We don't have to do that till we get the cabinets and the walls and all the other stuff set. But the big thing that I'm still chewing on, another big thing, I'm chewing on a lot of stuff, aren't I, is down here, excuse me, we have a vinyl floor. And this vinyl floor is put down extremely well. It is really stuck to the floor. And we got to put a new floor down. And we should put the floor down before we do the cabinets. And I've got the luxury of a month's time here to do it. But I didn't want to do a tile. I'd like to do a tile floor. I think a tile floor, because the entry is right over there. You can track grid in here. And if we put down a laminate floor, I'm just concerned the laminate's going to not take the kind of abuse that may be thrown at it. So I thought a tile floor would be really great for in here, and I like the slate tile we used in the bathroom in particular. But the right way to do this is either to remove all the vinyl and stick the tile to the wood subfloor. There's plywood, I think, under here, or put a cement board over top of it. Cement board's going to pop us up quite a bit. I've got a piece of cement board right here. That's going to stick up about half inch. Almost 5/8 of an inch, plus the thickness of the tile. We're going to be up 1 inch. We're going to be higher than we are with the floor that it adjoins. I'm not sure I'm going to do that. So we're going to make a decision here fairly quick. 200 square feet of kitchen we have to do something with. But we got to take a break here while I think about this. You take a break and we'll be right back. So we changed venues a little bit. We're down in the basement now because I've spent a good part of the last week after I finished the kitchen down here in the basement getting rid of all the stuff that was in the way. We had the logs holding up the floor here, and I've taken out a lot of the old, for lack of a better word, dead wood that was down here. And we now have 3 posts in the entire basement where we had probably about 10 before. And the reason we were able to get away with that, I think we showed this a little bit, is we put 2 main carrying beams in the ceiling. We have one here, and then if we swing around over to here, I'll swing the light around a little bit, we have another one right here. And this is a triple 2x8 that is glued and screwed together. And we're spanning roughly, I'll go back over here where the light's a little better. We're spanning about 8 feet from the front of the house to the first carrying beam. We posted it right in the middle with triple 2x8s again. We're spanning 15 feet, so we're only going 7.5 feet. We got a post here, and then we got one there and one down further. And we go 8 foot here, we go 8 foot here, 8 foot there, and then another 8 foot way back there. And we're not doing the back half because that's all pretty solid. It was this front half that was pretty messed up. And we've done two things. We've kept some of the original floor joists, which were 32 inches on center, and in between we've inserted 2x6s. The originals were 2x6 because they're only spanning 8 feet. We put other 2x6s in, so we're approximately 16 inches. Nothing is uniformly spaced. We try to, but you just can't do it. And I'll show you why here. This is pretty much evenly 16 inches on center up to here. And then I go 16 from here to here, and then from here to here is just a few inches, 6-8 inches, because there was some kind of floor joist here originally that was all rotted. And am I in the light? Am I okay in the light? Okay. And there's subfloor that comes together, and there's a line of subfloor that butts together right underneath here, so I needed to get on both sides of those pieces to support it properly. Then I've got another one over there, same deal. So we put some extra wood in here, so we average actually less than 16 inches on center in this section. And this section was fairly bad. So that's been done. As I've been doing this, we've had to undo wiring, and it was all hanging, I think, last time we showed the basement. A lot of it is now back up. This one is still hanging because I think we're going to replace it. And an interesting thing, I'm not happy about the location of the panel, so I think that might actually get moved at some point. And a lot of the wires are a little bit shy in terms of the length, so we're going to have to do some interesting rewiring. That's a good wintertime project, though. I know what I wanted to show you. Let's go down the other end here. Well, here I am this is underneath the kitchen. And these floor joists are approximately 2 feet on center, and it's fairly solid. So we're in good shape back here. You can see some new wiring I ran here. This is the wire that goes to the refrigerator. Refrigerator's always on its own circuit. That goes all the way back to the panel, has its own circuit breaker. Good stuff. This is some of the stuff I took out. This tickled me greatly. This hung. This was hanging down from the ceiling like this, exactly like that. These are live wires. This is live. It's all afloat, and that was hanging over by the chimney. It's nice, and that was live. None of that works. The switch didn't work. But this was the real super thing. This was live. This was hooked up, and actually, there are no Romex connectors in this box. The wires just passed on through. And I don't know if you can see this or not, the corrosion that's on there. See all that green? That's corroded copper. And look at the insulation here is all charred. Now I don't know if that's from, I don't know if that's from this overheating or the fuses. This should have been a 20 amp circuit at best. These are 30 amp fuses that are in here. And I think I broke that when I threw it on the floor in great joy that it came out of the system. This was the kitchen wiring. So, it could be somebody had a toaster oven on it or something that drew a lot of current, and it just, maybe it should have tripped, if it was a properly sized fuse, it would have tripped the fuse. Maybe it was blowing fuses all along. And somebody said, that ain't right. We're going to put a 30 amp in there and it ain't going to happen no more. Well, thank God it didn't burn the house down. So I've been joyfully going along and taking out the old wiring. This is always nice when you go into a basement, you find something like that hanging from the basement ceiling. That's nice. The ground wire is completely broken. That was not, you can see that just didn't break, it's all corroded. And it's a sort of a substandard ground wire size compared to the wire. This is 12 gauge wire, and that's about an 18 gauge ground. So it feels really good for somebody like me to get this stuff out of the house before the house burns down. And we'll Now, there was a real holdup here in getting this done because I had not finished all the floor joists. So now the floor joists are in place, I can start hanging wire properly and determining which wires have to be replaced and which ones don't, and there's a lot that still need to be replaced. So anyway, that's good stuff. Our heating pipes as well, this goes to the front of the house. We had a lot of that temporarily hung because we knew we were going to be over there working. So we're working our way back now. Everything is hung properly up to a certain point there, and we'll shorten up these and make them nice and neat as well. We're also going to do a little bit more, which we'll show you in a minute, but I think we've got to take a break. We'll take the break. We'll come back down here live from the not live, on tape from the basement, and then a new project house where old is getting new again or something like that. Hey, we're back. And this is just a little bit of the wood. Most of the wood that I've had in the basement here, we actually took out to the dump. But I hate to take wood like this out to the dump this time of year because it makes great firewood. And I figure I've got about enough here to last me about a month at my house. So here's another great reason to take on an old house project. You can always take out enough wood that you can keep your wood stove going for a long time. This is the second carrying beam that we put in. Let me just swing the lights up now, so we'll look at the ceiling a little more here. And we've screwed the old floor joist into the carrying beam. If I swing around over here, I want to show you this. This is where the basement stairs are, right here. We had a beam that went from the old beam, which was on the other side here, over to there, which carried the wall structure where the stairs are, for the second floor. And this had to be replaced, and it has been replaced. And in the process, we widened this opening a little bit, and we're going to be rebuilding the stairs, making them a little bit easier to get up and down, and also giving us a little more opportunity to get big things down through the house if we need to. This wall has a lot of load on it, so we had to jack this up to get it into place. Even though there was a beam here, the beam was sagged fairly well. So we've got a double 2x6 here, and I'm looking at this right now. I'm thinking I could put another 2x6 on this without thinking hard about it, and I think we're going to. We'll put another one on this side here, and we'll lose 1.5 inches coming this way, but we got plenty of room. In the process of doing this, the basement door is right up here. That was that door frame we did a couple of weeks ago. I hung it, and it was great having it. And in the process of putting this up where it's supposed to be, of course, I popped the door frame out of plumb and level. So I'll have to take that off and redo it again, but that's okay. That's a fairly simple process. This is why we use screws for projects like this. We can put them in, we can take them out, and fix anything that gets messed up. This is under tremendous load because it's taken some of the load from the second floor down to here and distributing it over to these carrying beams to get it to the foundation. So it's really important that we stop and think about where we're trying to bring the weight of the house down to. It always has to come down to here, to the foundation. So with a good foundation, we can do anything, but we need to get the load where it's supposed to be. The pressure treated, we're only using, as you may recall, what they call 0.1 pound per cubic foot pressure treatment. That means that it's not for ground contact. We're not in contact with the ground here, but we are in a damp basement where we have had rot issues. So this will protect it from rotting. We also need to use hot dip galvanized fasteners or anodized screws like we're using here, or stainless steel fasteners, because this will cause anything that's steel to corrode. If you use a bare steel nail, it will corrode and could potentially fail. And in this case, we're carrying a lot of load with these things, so we want to make sure we have the right fasteners in these kind of projects. You don't normally use pressure treated in a basement for a floor, but where we have had a lot of rot issues and we're replacing all this rotted wood, we don't want to go through it again because it's been a lot of work to get this all undone. And I won't have to do it again in my lifetime, but I don't want to have anybody else have to do it again after I'm not around. So that's all set and ready to go with a few odds and ends. We're going to finish up. I've got about 7 more floor joists over here that we're going to take out and put somewhere, sneak them in here where we have some issues, and we'll be in pretty good shape. I think we should head upstairs where it's a little bit lighter and the glare of the bright lights won't diminish any more of our activities. Okay, so the other problem we've had has been related to rain coming in. When we've had heavy rain, we've had water leaking into the kitchen, and we've got a standing seam metal roof on the house, and that's something that shouldn't have leaks, but it does. And I kind of chewed on it a little bit and diagnosed where exactly it was leaking, and it's leaking right in this corner. Well, that gets it fairly simple. If you look up here, we have a shed roof right there that goes down that way, and we've got a gable end roof that goes the other way. And what's happened is right at that interface, there's something leaking in. So I got up there and we did a couple things. You notice right where the slopey part of this roof comes down, we've got a potential for water to sneak in underneath that vinyl up there. Not a nice detail. You know, buildings, whether it's vinyl or it's wood or it's plastic siding, whatever the siding is, has to be engineered, has to be designed. And yes, carpenters have to become engineers in this case to shed water. Water has to go downhill, it has to go away from everything. Can't go away over there, it can sneak underneath, it's not properly flashed. So what we've done for the short term is we've caulked the living daylights out of it. And we've had several issues like that here where we've had water leaking in where we don't want it to be. It's either leaking in there or it's on the gable end where there's siding, and there's J-channel where water might be leaking in behind the siding. So we have to assume that everything leaks and try to attend to it as best we can, and then when we can, we'll start taking some siding off and looking to get really close and focus on where the issue is. This wall is, the stairs are right here. We've got this window right here, and here's a good example. Whoever put the vinyl on didn't do a really appropriate job. Look what we've got. They tried to caulk. They've got J-channel as a windowsill, so what does water do? It comes down and goes boom, right in potentially behind this siding. So this has to be at very least flashed properly. What we're going to do is, I think we're going to move the window that way a little bit. This is the south facade. So I want to get a slightly bigger window in here. In the process where somebody had actually probably had a barbecue grill over here and melted the vinyl, it's a good excuse to take all the siding off, see what's underneath it. And I've got a couple of schemes of things we're going to do to make this, if we keep the vinyl, make it look a lot better. And if we don't keep the vinyl, it's going to look even better. But that's another time when the weather is warm and it is not winter time in Maine, although it's a beautiful day today. We need to attend to these issues. Likewise here, we have the potential for water leaking in around this J-channel. It's just sloppy there. And this is the telltale thing here. We don't like seeing algae growing. That is an indication that there's maybe a little too much moisture somewhere. So we got to get in behind some of this and see what's happening. And if you see these kind of issues on your house, at very least, maybe it needs to be cleaned. Hopefully that's all it is. But we want to make sure there's no water back here that's giving us grief. Oh, it's so tempting to take that apart today, but I'm not going to do it because we are out of time and I got to go. If you have any questions, give us a call on the radio. You'll see we're at the end of the show, and we will see you next week. Wintertime in Maine indeed. Production support for Hot and Cold is brought to you by American Solar Technics, manufacturers of components for wood burning and solar heating systems.